I'm gonna be ranking every single rod in Roblox Fish, yes, all 76, from F-, which means absolutely trash, all the way to S+, meaning GOAT, absolute WWW rod. Anyways, we have a lot of rods to go through, so let's get right into it. Subscribe for more. Let's go. Okay, guys, so we're gonna start off with our good old flimsy rod. And yes, even though this technically is like the worst rod in the game, I'm not gonna give it an F because it has some oomph to it, if you know what I'm saying. Everyone had to have the flimsy rod to have the ethereal prism rod or whatever rod you have right now, okay? The flimsy rod is still a GOAT. And for that reason, okay, I'm gonna give it a B, okay? That's my final ranking, okay? Do not come at me for that. Just off the plain fact that it's literally the most OG rod in the entire game. Next, and technically this counts as a freaking permanent rod, but the Fisher's rod, which you get from the starter pack that I never ended up buying. For the price of 99 Robux, you can get another absolutely garbage rod, which the carbon rod is literally years better than. So for that reason, the Fisher's rod is going in the F tier. Trash. Okay, next up, we have the training rod. This is once again another rod that you can get at Moosewood, and the stats are really garbage. Also, if I was just grinding from noob to pro, I would recommend skipping this rod, but some people would get it for some reason, and it is useful, okay? It is kind of useful because you can use this rod to grind for, I guess, fish with like really low kilogram limits, like the glass diamond in the Northern Expedition. So I can't give it an F tier. Definitely cannot give it an F tier. We're gonna give it a C tier, okay? C tier because it's trash. I wouldn't recommend getting it, but you kind of want to get it because it does have some uses, okay? That's going in the C tier. Next, we have the carbon rod, and honestly, I'm gonna give the carbon rod a pretty high rating just because if you're a beginner, I recommend going from the flimsy rod right to the carbon rod, and you can literally get this rod right away with codes, or you can also get the steady rod, but we're gonna talk about that one later in the video. Overall, since the carbon rod is super good for beginners and it's only 2,000 credits, I'm gonna give it a grand total rating of oh my gosh, this one's hard. No, carbon rod can definitely get a B tier. It's a good rod, especially for beginners. And speaking about beginners, the next 4 rods I'm giving all F because they're absolutely garbage. The fast rod, the lucky rod, the long rod, and the stone rod, okay? All of these rods are completely trash. If I played Fish and I didn't actually just want to get every single rod, I would never buy these rods. So all those ones are going in the F tier. Now we're getting into the stage 2 rods, starting out with the magma rod. And okay, I can't give this an F, but I really want to because you guys know about the reinforced rod. Technically, I can't give it an F because it is one of the only rods that you can use to fish in the Rosslet volcano. But since the stats are, they're kind of like atrocious. I mean, -70 lure speed. Like, what am I supposed to do with -70 lure speed? Okay, just because it can fish in the volcano, I'm not going to give it an F tier. We'll go with a D, just a regular D, okay? Next, the other rod that you can get from a quest, the fungal rod. This one, it can go in F tier. It has literally no use at all. I mean, it has like a stupid ability giving you luck 4 for 45 seconds, but the stats, oh my gosh, the stats are just too horrible. We're giving that one an F. But next guys, we have the steady rod. And I don't know if you guys know about me. Well, you probably don't. I don't talk about the steady rod much because I never used it, but the steady rod is a very OG rod. So I'm gonna have to give it its flowers just because, I mean, I went through a lot of the game with this. I caught 1,344 fishes, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but catching that many fishes with the steady rod is like hours of grinding. And just for the plain fact that it can hold 100,000 kilograms and it's just a freaking OG beginner rod, we're gonna give this one a B. Yep, B. Okay, B. That's my final rating on the steady rod. It's really good. The next 3 rods I'm about to say, all F tier. I'm sorry. Fortune rod, rapid rod, F tier, F tier, F tier. Nocturnal rod. Yes, the nocturnal rod has like a nocturnal ability and it can do whatever, But I'm 100% honest when I say this. Nobody uses this rod. And if you have this rod, it's probably just because you want this to say 100% unlocked in the fishing rod spot. But yeah, overall, nocturnal rod definitely gets an F, but This next rod, I can't give an F, okay? The magnet rod, not the magma rod, but the magnet rod has a special ability. So basically it acts like a magnet, all right? It catches your bait crates, it catches your carbon crates, it catches all that. And because that ability is not only unique, but pretty useful. And back when there was the Christmas update, this one was super useful for getting the presents. I know there's not presents in the game, but basically you could just use them to farm up enchant relics. And now enchant relics are kind of just not as valuable as they used to be. But overall, I'm gonna have to give the magma rod a C, okay? It's a trash rod and definitely needs a buff, but overall it's kind of useful. And speaking about useful, the next rod, the father to the magma rod, the reinforced rod is very, very useful. It is the only one that can fish in the volcano while actually being able to, like, you know, hold its weight. I mean, yeah, it has 0% lure speed, but like the stats aren't horrendous, and it has infinite max kilogram limit. And for that reason, just since this rod is so useful, I have to give it an A, okay? Reinforced rod, you get yourself an A, congratulations. And this next rod, honestly, probably would have gotten an A if it was before the nerf. I'm talking about the Arctic rod. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. The Arctic rod gets a D now, just because, yeah, nerfed into oblivion. Goodbye, Arctic rod. But this next rod, the avalanche rod, is like 10k more than the Arctic rod, but basically had the same stats as it did before it got nerfed. So for that reason, I definitely can't give it an F or a D, since it's a really good beginner rod, but there is one that I'm picturing in my mind that is a lot better than this. I'm not gonna give it an A. I am gonna give it a B+, okay? Yeah, avalanche rod can definitely get a B+, but the next two rods, definitely not. And by next two rods, I mean scurvy rod, absolutely trash. Don't ever get that one. And the Phoenix rod, absolutely trash. Don't get it unless you're obviously trying to complete your rod collection. Yeah, those are going in F tier. But this next one, I can't put it in F tier. I'm talking about the Midas rod, and I can't put this one in F tier because you can use it to catch things like this, a Midas freaking fish, which are super cool and golden. But this rod definitely needs a buff, but I can't give it an F just because it can catch the Midas fish and things like that. So for that reason, the Midas rod will get C+. C+ final grade. C+ final grade. Okay, Midas rod next. Crystallized rod. This one, I think I'm going to give it a higher grade than the Midas rod, just because its stats actually hold up its own, and it's the only thing you can use to actually catch crystallized relics. Okay, I actually don't have any right now. That's kind of embarrassing, but for the crystallized relics, this rod is super useful. And if you guys ever want to get the rod of the, what's it called? The rod of the exalted one, you're basically going to need this rod. And just because of how useful it is, I'm going to give this one a B. Okay, you can get a solid B crystallized rod. You're very useful. And this next rod, it's probably going to be A. I'm just saying that before I even tell you about it. The Depth Seeker rod, really, really good stats. These ones I can actually read out because it makes sense. 55% lure speed, 70% luck, 0.17 control, 25% resilience, and 50,000 max kilogram limit. It's really good. I mean, it's literally a, I think it's 40,000, right? Okay, I just looked it up. It's 40,000 credits for this. And for being a beginner rod, this one's super OP. I mean, okay, I'm not to sound like an unk here, but back in my day, we had the Trident rod and it definitely wasn't anywhere near as good as this. So just because it's such a good beginner rod, I'm gonna have to give it an A. Yeah, you can get an A. This next rod's good, but I'm probably not gonna give it an A. I'm talking about the brick rod. Not only, okay, it can get some cool points because I honestly do think this is one of the coolest rods in the game, just because it's actually like cool, it's big and all that type of stuff. And it does have really high resilience and a good max infinite kilogram limit, good control, good luck, but the lure speed is bad. So like, okay, compared to the Depth Seeker rod, it's also very, very good, but not as good as the Depth Seeker rod. And putting all factors considered, I'm gonna have to give this one a A-, okay? I honestly didn't think I would give it that high of a score, but after going over everything, you can get an A-. All right, brick rod, you did your thing. And this next rod, I know people used to love it, but I was never a fan. The Aurora rod. I mean, yeah. It does give you the Aurora mutation, which is cool, but these stats are just garbage. Not to mention, it's really overpriced. This thing costs 90,000 credits. So, okay, putting all those reasons together, Aurora rod, you're getting a D. You're getting a D. Just because you have the mutation, I can't give you an F. And speaking about F, this next rod is probably also going to get a D. Okay, I'm talking about the mythical rod. It costs 110,000 credits, which is incredibly overpriced, but it is the only rod that you can use to catch the mythical mutation. So I can't give it an F. Once again, this one's going in D tier. Okay, next up we have the King's Rod. The King's Rod, what do I say about this rod, man? I used to hate it. I used to hate it. Even when it was good back in the day, I always preferred the Trident rod better. Everyone kind of was like, well, why not get the King's Rod? Because it has a really high max kilogram limit. And I mean, okay, the King's Rod's good, especially for early game players trying to catch Megalodons and things like that. But there's just so many better rods now. Like even the Brick Rod is probably a lot better than the King's Rod. And the Brick Rod only costs like 13k credits. So for that reason, I can't give this a super high rating. Since I gave the Brick Rod an A-, and this one's super overpriced now, it's gonna get a C. Yeah, King's Rod can get a C tier. But this next rod, Ice Warper's Rod, I'm kind of like, I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, it has good stats and it costs 65,000. Which is why I'm not going to give it a good rating. I mean, the Arctic, or not the Arctic Rod, the, what's it called? Yeah, Avalanche Rod. Avalanche Rod is basically the same thing as this in half the price. And the Depth Seeker Rod is basically the same thing, actually a little bit better than this and cheaper. So, yeah, I'm going to give this one a D-. D-. This one's kind of trash. And speaking about trash, this next one is the opposite of trash. The Champions Rod. Really, really good beginner's rod, but I don't think it's as good of a value rod as the Depth Seeker Rod, just because the Champions Rod, yes, it's good, but it costs 80,000 and it's not that much of an upgrade. Like, yes, it has the 200,000 kilogram max limit. So if you want to catch bigger fishes, yes, this is definitely a good upgrade, but just like thinking about value, 80,000, and then you basically get the same thing as the Depth Seeker Rod. The Depth Seeker Rod actually being faster. Yeah, Champions Rod, you're getting a B tier since you're still a really good beginner rod. Okay, B tier. In this next rod, I wish I could give it a good rating. This is one of my favorite rods ever, the Trident Rod. I mean, it's an OG rod, pretty good lure speed, pretty good, really good luck, zero control, zero resilience, and horrible max kilogram limit, which is why I can't give it a super high rating. But I also don't have to give it a bad rating, because even though the max kilogram limit is super incredibly sadly low, not all the fish are huge in the game. I mean, you can still go to volcanic vents and farm with the Trident Rod and get a ton of money. And for that reason, I mean, I'm not going to give the Trident Rod an F. I'm also not going to give it a D, but I don't think I can give it a B or an A. So yeah, okay, since I love this rod so much, I'm gonna give it a C+, okay? C+ for Trident Rod. But this next rod is definitely not gonna be that, I'm not gonna be that lenient on this rod. I'm talking about the Summit Rod. Why I'm not gonna be so lenient? These stats are trash. I mean, 15% lure speed, 75% luck, 0.25 control, 15% resilience, and 200,000 max kilogram limit. And yeah, basically not even as good as the freaking Champions Rod, which is way cheaper. I'm giving this an F because it costs 300,000 credits. That's all I have to say. Not worth it at all. F tier. Next, we have a rod that I don't know why I can't craft, because I can't get the freaking mythical driftwood, but the precision rod. And this one, I can't give it like... can't give it a horrible rating because it's not that bad. I mean, it has good luck, bad control, pretty good resilience. But the thing that's really bad about it is it doesn't have a passive. So, okay, I can't give this one an F, but since it's really cheap and not that hard to get if you get the mythical driftwood, we're gonna give the precision rod a D. A D, yeah, just a regular D. But this next rod is probably also gonna get a D or an F. Once again, a rod that I can't get because for some reason I can't get the freaking mythical driftwood, but this rod's horrible. I mean, for 50,000, really bad luck. Like, yeah, I guess it has a passive that gives like an XP bonus, but honestly, overall, you get F tier. Wisdom rod, I'm sorry, you get F tier. You're absolute buns and too expensive. The next rod, and now I'm starting to get mad because these are all just rods that I can't have because of freaking driftwood, but the resourceful rod. This one is, stats are really bad and it's just not worth it, like to actually grind for this if you want to get the lunar driftwood. If you have this stuff in your inventory, this one's okay, but yeah, D-. Matter of fact, F+. You get an F+ because you're not like completely trash. But finally, we can get back into rods that I freaking have. Starting with the volcanic rod. This one, right now, it's really good. It hasn't gotten nerfed or anything yet. Like, okay, yeah, the lure speed is slow, but if you get hasty on it, this freaking rod is really good right now. It's actually one of the top 10 money-making rods in the entire game. only for the price of 300,000. So this is really, really good. And since it's so good right now, okay, I'm giving this the first S tier. Yep. Okay. Volcanic rod, you get the first S tier of the video. Super, super OP rod, especially for the price right now. If you're a beginner with 300,000 budget, get this rod right now. Next, we have the Rod of the Depths with a really, really like decent stats. Honestly, it definitely needs a buff for the freaking cost of 750,000, but I really do like the passive ability. If you guys don't know, basically every single time you catch 3 fish, this little ghost dude behind you will catch another fish for you. And this also is one of the best money making rods and XP rods in the game, all top 10. And honestly, it's so OG. I mean, I love this rod. Like, this rod's really, really good. I mean, me personally, I love this rod. So Rod of the Depths, you're getting a solid, you're getting a B+. You're getting a B+ just because there's new rods that are better than it, but I do love the Rod of the Depths. Anyways, guys, next we have the luckiest rod in the entire game. Let me pull this guy out for you. The Destiny rod. Horrible stats besides the 250% luck. And yes, this is the luckiest rod in the game, but 190,000 credits. Are we serious, Fish? Yeah, absolutely not. For 150,000, 190, matter of fact, 190,000 credits, and you have to complete 70% of the bestiary to even be able to purchase this. Absolutely trash. Please buff this rod because it could be good. Like, honestly, even if you increase the price and made it like a better version of the Heavens rod, I'd be fine with that. But right now, I'm sorry, you're getting a D-. I'm sorry. Next, we're gonna get into 4 rods that I don't have again. I hate this. If you guys can give me the materials to get these freaking rods, please do. But this one you actually get out of treasure chests. It's called the Sunken Rod, and it has a 25% chance to pull up a treasure map, which is honestly not that rare in the first place, and a 5% chance to have the sunken mutation. Okay. The stats are bad. Like, yeah, it has good luck, but I don't know how to feel about this one. Since it doesn't have a really good passive, like any type of really good passive, I'm gonna have to give this a D. Okay, D, just because it can catch the sunken mutation and you can't get that with any other rod. Anyways, what about this guy right here, the Auric rod? You can get this buddy at a sunken chest it's like a 0.25% chance, super rare. Anyways, this rod is really good. It actually is one of the top 3 money making rods in the game. The only thing I hate about it is obviously the fact that it comes only in sunken chests, so you just have to get really, really lucky to get it. But it's also not pay to win, okay? It's not a pay to win rod, it's just super lucky. So for that reason, it's not actually bad that it's a lucky rod. So I would honestly say, since this is one of the top 5 money making rods in the game, I'm gonna have to give it an A. I mean, just the fact that you can technically get this rod for free and have it be the one of the best money maker. Yeah, you can get an A, definitely A. But this next rod probably won't get an A. I'm talking about the Seasons rod. And yes, you can catch the seasonal mutation, but these stats are too trash and 35K is way too much. You're getting a D-, buddy. Now, the Riptide rod is interesting. It has like a weird increased luck. I have seen a bunch of videos bashing this rod, just saying how trash it is. And even just looking at the stats right now, no way the passive actually helps that good. And now that I'm looking at it, it only gives a 30% increased luck and 25% increased lure speed. So, yeah. Since it doesn't even give a mutation, F tier, all right? Riptide rod, you're going in the F tier. But this rod, Abyssal Spectre rod, I can't give it an F tier at all. I also can't even give it a D tier. And that's because this rod only costs 1 million credits, making it the cheapest. Okay, not the cheapest. I know you guys keep saying, but making it the cheapest expensive rod in Atlantis. What I mean by that is every other rod is like at least 1.5 million, basically making this one of the cheapest ones. And it's not bad. The only thing is it doesn't really have a passive, but the stats are really good. So I'm definitely not going to give it an F, but I definitely can't give it an A. Thinking of giving it a B, B-, since it has no passive. Okay, guys, we're going to start to get into some really, really juicy rods. And I just realized this video is probably like going to be 30 minutes long. But if you guys are watching this far, you're an absolute real one. Let me know in the comments. But first one we're going to go over is the Zeus rod. And okay, this one's actually genuinely decent. I'm kind of debating. Okay, it's S tier, but let me explain. Matter of fact, S+. Let me explain though. Let me explain. Basically, it's the second best money making rod in the game, and it only costs 1.7 million. because the value is so high to get literally the second best money-making rod in the game, because basically every single fish is like 3.5 times more. Anyways, you can watch another one of my videos about that. Yeah, S plus tier, S plus. Next, we have a Mariana's Veil rod, the Challenger's rod. Really good. Okay, really good. 2.5 million and the best XP rod in the entire game right now. And for that reason, okay, I'm just handing out S's now because like the rods I'm about to talk about are just really good. But yeah, Challenger's rod can also get an S just because it's the #1 XP rod in the entire game, and it's not that expensive. Like, yeah, it's 2.5 million, but that's not that crazy. Now, this next rod is technically just a worse version of the Challenger's rod. I'm talking about the Tempest rod. For the price of 1.85 million, you can get this. And okay, if you didn't know, the Tempest rod and the Challenger's rod both have abilities that boost the speed which you lure fish in. Basically meaning like with the Tempest rod, you'll lure speed in 15% faster, and with the Challenger's rod, you'll lure things in 20% faster. But the thing is, the Tempest rod isn't bad. I mean, it has really good stats, but just since they literally added the Challenger's rod and it's basically the father of the Tempest rod, this one's tough. I'm gonna give it an A-. Okay, it's still a really good rod, but just because I would recommend getting the Challenger's rod instead, just grinding a little bit more. Now on to the next one, the Poseidon's rod. And okay, first of all, this rod looks really cool. It's like a cooler looking version of the Challenger's rod, not the Challenger's, the Trident rod. Next, this basically has an ability where there's a 25% chance to directly reward the user with a 75%. Okay, let me just explain what I mean. If you're fishing with this fish, there is a 25% chance that you will get 75% of the fish's value. Basically meaning, if I catch a fish that's worth $1,000, there's a 25% chance that I'll get 750 just right in my bank account. And for that reason, I really like that passive. It's really good for making money. Oh man, this one's tough. There's just like a lot of better rods for making money, which is why for 1.55 million, you can get a B plus. Okay, B plus, that's my final rating. Fight me in the comments about it. Next, the Heavens rod. Okay, I hate it. Okay, I hate it. Yes, I use it sometimes. Yes, you need hasty because it's slow. And yes, I hate it because it's slow. But I can't let my personal bias determine this rating because this rod is technically basically the best luck rod in the game because the Destiny rod is trash. But for that reason, my gosh, I hate the slowness of this rod. It just feels like I never get my luck, but that's just me being unlucky. I have to give it an A plus, bro. No, I can't even just give it an A. I have to give it an S minus because if you're catching any type of fish with any type of rod, you're always going to want to use the Heavens rod for maximum luck. Okay, S minus. I don't like that rating, but that's the true rating of the rod. Next up, we have the Kraken rod. And okay, the Kraken's rod really good. What am I saying? The Kraken's rod is really good. It has a lot of haters, a lot of lovers. Overall, what can I give this rod, man? I'm gonna give it an A. I don't know much about it, but what I do know is a lot of people love it, and it has 3 really good passive abilities, and the stats are really good. If you get hasty on this, it's a top 7 money-making rod in the game. And yeah, for that reason, you can get an A. You can definitely get an A, not an S though, because it is a little bit like, I don't know, hard to get to. But overall, okay, the Kraken's rod good. I'm giving it an A and moving the freak on to the Voyager's rod. This one, the stats are trash, but you can use this one to catch fossilized enchant relics, which is why I really like it. And I'm not going to give it an F. I'm also not going to give it a D. I'm going to give it a C just because of how good this is for catching fossilized enchant relics, and the stats aren't completely horrible. Okay, I'm giving this rod a C and moving on. Next, we're going to be talking about the Lost rod, and once again, these are another one of the rods that I absolutely hate, and it's super hard to get. I mean, you have to get an ancient thread, lapis lazuli, yada yada yada, and overall, the stats are horrible. And the only passive it has is that it boosts your luck. Yeah, Lost rod, you're going in F, buddy. Next, okay, next one we're gonna go over is one of my favorite rods in the entire game, the No Life rod. I absolutely love this rod. not only is it an OG rod, but it looks really cool, and it's actually a pretty good rod. I mean, it's top 10 money-making rods in the entire game and XP rods. So for that reason, and since this rod is completely free, I'm giving the no life rod an S-. An S- just because it's not an S anymore, because a lot of the Atlantis rods are actually better than this. Anyways, next one we're gonna go over is the Leviathan's Fang rod, all right? 70% lure speed, 180% luck, 0.1 control, yada, yada, yada. This rod is really good because of its Scylla ability. Basically, that means it adds a slash ability when reeling in a Scylla, and it gives plus 50% resilience. Man, this one's so tough because it's not that good, but it's also not that bad. And the fact that it costs only $1 million is like kind of decent. But I'm sorry, you guys, I have to give this one a C. It's mediocre. Like, yeah, it's all right for the price, and it is actually better than the Abyssal Spectre rod. So we'll give it a C+. Okay, final rating on the Leviathan's Fang rod, C+. Now we're moving on to stage 8 rods, and that's basically the last stage if you didn't know. First one's first, the rod of the Zenith, which I didn't buy. I didn't buy it because it's honestly not that worth it to buy it. Let's look it up on the wiki. So it costs 10 million, which is why it's definitely not worth it for only an 85% lure speed, 100. Yeah, I don't even have to get into that too much. Yeah, it has like a really weird fishing bar mutation, but way too expensive and just not worth it because the ethereal prism rod is 15 million and that's only 5 million more. So overall, we're gonna give this one a C. Next one is the celestial rod. Oh my gosh, I'm actually about to get pressed because of all these rods that I can't craft. If one of you guys has a moonstone, moonwood, freaking give it to me, please. Join my Discord server. Anyways, all right, the celestial rod, decent. All right, 50% luck, 30% lure speed, yada, yada, yada. But it only happens after catching 85 fish. 85 fish, and you get the freaking ability for 5 minutes. Also, the stats are trash. D tier, D tier, D tier, D tier, D tier. That's my final option. Goodbye. Next, Rod of the Eternal King. Rod of the Eternal King. 50% lure speed. I'm not even going to go into that, but this one's really good because you can use it to catch greedy relics. So overall, I can't give it a bad rating. And honestly, the stats aren't that bad. Overall, I'm going to give this one an A. Just a regular A because of its ability to catch greedy relics. Next, we have the Rod of the Forgotten Fang, a rod that I actually freaking crafted for once that you can get at level 750, really good stats, and it can duplicate fish sometimes if fish doesn't decide to fix glitches. So, oh my gosh. I'm giving this one an S as well. Wait, no. A+. This one's really good. It's definitely not an S though, just because I feel like the no life rod's better. Just me personally. I know it's not, but I just feel like it is. Next, I'm not gonna go over the freaking ethereal prism rod yet. We're gonna talk about the seraphic rod. I'm giving this one a B. Here's why I'm giving it a B. Yes, it's a good money making rod. Yes, it's a good what's it called, XP rod if there was XP, but it's super hard to get. You literally have to get max level, which I guess isn't that hard anymore, but they literally nerfed it. They nerfed the ability on this rod, and they never should have done that. If they didn't nerf the ability, this was an S tier rod. Since they did nerf the ability, B tier. Lastly, ethereal prism rod and S-. Okay, wait, no. S. Okay. S. Yes, you can get an S, all right? Ethereal prism rod can get an S because it's a really good rod. Yes, it costs 15 million, but it gives like 10 times more money, and it's just a really good rod. So overall, ethereal prism rod, definitely S tier, and that's my freaking tier list, guys. It's 4:42 in the morning. It is so late. I have to go to sleep. I hope you guys enjoyed this video though. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.